At no level of basketball could this ever be a technical foul on Kelsey Mitchell. Oh, Asia Wilson's on the court. That changes everything. So if Asia Wilson fouls you on a layup, you're going to get a technical.
On the night the league crowned its brightest star, the script felt pre-written. Banners, cheers, and a smooth Vegas victory to match the MVP ceremony. Then the ball went up, and the building learned something it didn't expect. Coronations don't guarantee control. Indiana didn't arrive to clap politely. They arrived to test every assumption in the room. The result wasn't a polite upset. It was a momentum theft right in the heart of the desert. That shift wasn't about one lucky run. It was about tempo, poise, and a lead guard who refused to blink when the pressure tried to crawl into her jersey. By the final horn, the noise in the arena had changed tone. What started as celebration had become a conversation that would follow both teams into every timeout. Who actually runs this series when the shots get tight and the game gets mean?
This was supposed to be a night all about Asia Wilson's legacy. She made history before the ball even tipped, but the game that followed reminded the Aces how tough this playoff run will be.
The Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game 1.
Everything about the pre-game energy said cruise control, rings on fingers, an MVP trophy front and center, and a crowd ready to stamp the narrative. Indiana heard that soundtrack and answered with something sharper: quick reads, early pace, and the kind of spacing that punishes slow rotations. The first few minutes weren't fireworks. They were a pressure test, and Vegas felt every turn of the wrench. Favorites live with invisible weight. Every miss draws a gasp. Every turnover sounds like a warning. The Fever didn't carry that tax. They moved like a team that had nothing to protect and everything to take. With each clean catch and decisive drive, they poked another hole in the storyline. By the end of the opening frame, the "when will the run come" murmurs had quietly turned into "why aren't they folding?"
And Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back. Not at all.
Pressure steals rhythm. It turns smart teams into hurried ones and compresses decision-making into a couple of predictable options. Indiana looked free of that gravity. They trusted the extra pass and hunted early offense before the wall could set. When the Aces tried to bully the paint, the Fever hit them with exit cuts, skip passes, and pull-ups that arrived a beat earlier than the closeout. The message was subtle but brutal. We're not here to survive your pressure. We're here to redirect it. Meanwhile, the weight of the night sat on Vegas's shoulders like a backpack full of bricks. The moment their first option got jammed, the counters felt sticky. A dribble too long, a pass a step late, a catch a foot farther from the sweet spot. It wasn't collapse, it was compaction. The kind that turns a great offense into a series of tough contested looks that don't scare anybody.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
There's a version of this game where the underdog blinks first. Kelsey Mitchell didn't let it happen. She spoke in tempo and angles, pulling whenever a defender ducked under, slicing to the rim when hips opened the wrong way, and dropping corner threes the second help tagged the roller with lazy hands. 34 points isn't just volume, it's authorship. It says, "We're playing on my clock now." What separates a hot hand from a takeover is timing. Mitchell's buckets didn't float. They landed like hammers on possessions when the arena got loud. A semi-transition pull-up to mute a run. A paint touch into a kick-out to stretch the floor for the next trip. A late clock jumper that says, "No panic here?" By the fourth, you could feel it through the screen. Vegas wasn't just defending shots. They were grappling with certainty, the kind a scorer carries when she knows the floor map better than you do.
But on the court, the Fever crashed the party. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a playoff career-high 34 points to spoil the night with an 89-73 win.
In the second half, I just felt like our physicality and our pursuit was not there. Like, we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Superstars don't get stopped, they get rerouted. Indiana's plan was a clinic in denial before the catch and congestion after it. Aaliyah Boston planted early chest lower than low, winning position 2 beats before the entry pass. When the ball finally arrived, a helper hovered at the nail like a shadow, ready to stunt on the first dribble and recover to the next pass. Nothing felt clean. No downhill catches, no spins without a body wedged into the path. The job wasn't about highlight blocks, it was about discomfort. The MVP still got touches, great players always will, but the geometry was wrong. Fadeaways drifted longer. Drop steps bled into bump and reset. Every finish felt like it waded through mud. And as the night wore on, frustration tried to pick the lock. That's when Indiana tightened the screws. No reach-ins, no cheap fouls, just the patience to make every possession feel heavy.
You better not blank on a miss, bitch. You might get ranking. Shot back, let it go, right, go. What is fly for somebody? Die. You don't want to fight no hitter? No, nigga, I'ma shoot you in the face.
Playoff basketball is built on friction. Screens arrive with hips, cuts finish with bruises, and the line between physical and too much gets debated in slow motion after the buzzer. This series leaned into that edge, bodies on the floor, glances at the officials, and clips that lit up timelines. The smartest team in a storm isn't the one that yells the loudest. It's the one that edits the chaos into chances. Indiana didn't spend their night chasing whistles. They chased advantages. When contact spiked, they widened spacing. When tempers rose, they shortened the pass count and got to their actions earlier in the clock. Instead of arguing the temperature, they controlled it. An extra half step here, a swing there, and suddenly the same bumps that rattled everyone else turned into easy reads and cleaner shots.
Lexi Hall was getting pushed all game. Look at that. Like, elbowed, pushed, but guess who fell? That's a legal screen. She leans into Lexi Hall, pushes her. Look at this. Pushes Lexi Hall down. Like, I can't take this crap. I'm sick of watching it over and over. That's a moving screen. And then pushes her again. Look at that. You can't do that. They didn't call any. This is the only one they called a foul. She straight pushed Kelsey Mitchell into Asia Wilson.
Mitchell's star shone, but the engine room made the vehicle steer. Odyssey Sims played like a metronome with mood swings, slowing the ball to bleed pressure, then ripping into a burst the instant a big flashed flat feet. Her timing off empty corner actions pulled help just far enough for a lob, a pocket pass, or a clean floater. Those are the trips that don't trend but bend outcomes. Boston owned the map without owning the headline. High screens with a short roll to the nail. Duck-ins that turned strong side help into a guessing game. Defensive positioning that cut off those smooth, two-footed finishes. The MVP usually prints on command. Add in the role players who didn't chase hero moments. Smart seals, baseline relocations, glasswork that denies second chances, and you have the hidden math of the night. Vegas had counters, but each one arrived to find the window a little smaller than it was supposed to be.
And then this pathetic foul to start the game off with. But ball never lies. I love when karma happens. Yeah, miss your free throw. And then here we go. Check this out. Foul. Look at this when she swings her elbows on Powers. And Powers just holding her ground, but it's a foul. Let's go through this. This is Asia Wilson. I'm so big and bad. No, you didn't get touched. It wasn't that cool. You made a layup.
Game 1 does more than tilt a bracket. It rewires confidence. Historically, the team that grabs the opener gains a measurable edge. But the number only matters if it morphs into habits. Indiana didn't treat the upset like a postcard home. They treated it like proof of concept. Pace scares Vegas. Early offense before the wall sets creates high-value looks, and disciplined crowds around the block turn the paint into a traffic jam. The Aces, champions for a reason, counterpunched. They sharpened coverage rules, tried to nudge Mitchell off her favorite launch pads, and looked for ways to earn deeper catches for their star. That's the tug of war a real series deserves. Still, the opener's echo remained. Indiana could survive the noise and win the read. When a team learns that, it stops hoping for breaks and starts manufacturing them.
But then Aaliyah Boston swings her elbows around and makes a shot, but no, she can't do it. She's a fever. An Indiana fever. She said, that's a flop. That's what Caitlin said. Here we go. A'ja Wilson. Look at her trying to flop to get a call. Nobody touch you. And this is the biggest bullcrap of the game. So Kelsey Mitchell goes in for a layup. A'ja Wilson shows them their lip, so they review it. Ever see an Indiana Fever player get a review when they're called for a foul and they zoom in with a microscope and call it technical? They called it technical on Kelsey Mitchell.
For Vegas, the checklist is technical and simple to describe. Make the MVP a mover before a catcher, flatten the weak side tag so Mitchell can't see the same stunt twice, and prioritize early touches that arrive near the dotted line with the defense backpedaling. Hit your threes on the second side and suddenly the floor looks like it used to. Indiana's echo. Keep the blueprint. Sprint into actions before the defense finishes talking. Park Boston in spaces that force decisions, screen, slip, or seal, and let Sims flip pace like a Met guard switching gears on a tight mountain road. The more the game drifts toward raw emotion, the more a calm extra pass becomes lethal. That's the paradox of playoff heat. The cooler mind cuts hotter.
A'ja Wilson. Look at that foul they called for her. Yeah, saved her. That's some bullcrap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything is over the back. Not a jump ball.
There's a misconception that toughness always looks loud. Sometimes it looks like a guard ignoring a shove to hit a 17-footer. Sometimes it's a center refusing to swipe down, even when the crowd begs for a statement block. Indiana's edge was composure that read as defiance. Every time the moment tried to go off the rails, they got back to their staples. 2 actions, touch the paint, kick, reset, rip again. Vegas knows this story too. Champions aren't strangers to adjustments or uncomfortable nights. Their veterans can flip a series in a quarter. That's what makes the matchup addictive. Both teams have identities strong enough to survive the other's punch. The question the opener asked, and the series keeps asking, isn't who wants it more. It's who stays themselves when the room starts to shake.
Money Mitch, put him in a ditch. Who on the Las Vegas Aces is going to try to stop Kelsey Mitchell? Because from what I just saw, they had no answer for her. Kirsten Bell, line right up, smacked. Jackie Young, step right up, torched. Chelsea Gray, torched. Jewel Lloyd, torched. Nobody could hang with Kelsey Mitchell as she goes off.
Mitchell's night wasn't a heat check mixtape. It was a reading exercise. See under, rise, see top foot, slice, see stunt early, slip the pocket to Boston, and relocate to the weak side for the dagger later. The best scorers don't just catch fire. They build the bonfire, log by log. That's why the fourth quarter felt inevitable rather than lucky. Vegas knew the math. They just couldn't change it without breaking something else. And that's where leadership hides, in choices that don't make the highlight cut. The skip pass that saves a possession. The pause dribble that reorganizes a broken set. The refusal to rush a 2-for-1 when you can carve 30 honest seconds out of a game your pace already controls. Those small, boring decisions piled up into a result that didn't feel like a coin flip. It felt earned.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
Look at any playoff game that goes sideways for a favorite, and you'll often find the same story. The paint belonged to someone else. Indiana didn't dominate it with dunks. They owned it by appointment. Early seals to force help. Short rolls that dared the low man to commit. Floaters that arrived before shot blockers could fully load. Every clean 2 inside does 2 jobs. It scores, and it dilates the arc for the next trip. On the other end, crowding the block turned Vegas's best weapon into a grind. The first contact arrived early. The second, on the gather. The third, legal and late, shaping the finish. You could feel the frustration build because the shots that normally arrive on balance started to list to one side. Misses happen. But when they stack, it isn't just aim, it's architecture.
Good anticipation there by Brianna Turner. She's been on a couple WNBA all defensive teams, and she has really been key for them on that end of the floor in these playoffs.
Sims, yet again.
That's a tough matchup.
Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple in the regular season in Asia. In the entire league. And Sims, they gave her just that space and she took it.
Playoff stories love headliners, but the edges are cut by players who win 3 possessions by doing things that don't trend. The weak side guard who tags and recovers on time, twice. The forward who wall-ups without fouling and then sprints into a deep seal, flipping the court in 4 steps. The shooter who relocates to the slot instead of drifting, turning a contested corner look into a practice rep. Those are the tiny hinge points that swung this game open. Indiana stacked those moments until the hinge snapped. Vegas had them too, just not in the same clusters. That's how underdogs make their living. Not with 1 home run swing, but with a dozen line drives that exhaust a defense and demoralize a crowd, waiting for a knockout that never lands.
Tipped by Sims, so 9 seconds to shoot.
Hull's done a nice job on Jackie Young early in this game. Jackie likes to go north to south. She's made her play east to west, has not given her an angle to the bucket or to the rim.
And that was one of the things that was talked about to make Jackie move laterally. She's so dangerous. We gotta hurry. Kelsey gets it inside to Young. Rebound by Howard.
If you want the short version, here it is. Pressure compresses. Poise expands. Vegas felt compressed. Smaller windows, heavier catches, harder shots. Indiana expanded. More space, cleaner reads, better timing. The tape tells the same story in different languages. One team chased its best looks, the other hunted them. One team asked the officials to solve problems, the other used the whistle as scenery. That's not a permanent condition. Great teams shed weight fast, but the opener carved a groove into the series. If the Fever keep the game in structure while letting their star explore, they own the most precious playoff commodity, predictable good shots. The champs must make the floor weirder again, on their terms, without letting it slide into chaos that feeds the other side's calm.
They don't want to talk about it. Yeah, her missing layup after layup after layup. They want to talk about Caitlin Clark missing a 3-pointer from half court while she got people falling into her legs. But nobody wants to talk about A'ja Wilson looking like Angel Reese, missing point-blank layups all game long. In a playoff.
Legacies speak loudly in pre-game ceremonies. Results shout louder when the scoreboard goes black. On a night built for a coronation, Indiana rewrote the tone with pace, patience, and a guard who refused to give an inch. Vegas still has the pedigree to flip everything back in 1 quarter, but the opener left a blueprint behind. Early offense, crowded blocks, composure on contact, and a scorer who treats pressure like a metronome. That's how you steal not just a game, but the room's belief about what's possible. If you're into this kind of deep dive, where we break down the why behind the highlights, do me a solid. Tap subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Like this video if it gave you new angles to watch for, and drop a comment with your take. Did Indiana crack the code? Or is Vegas one adjustment away from slamming the door? Your comments help shape which plays and matchups we dissect next, and they genuinely push this channel forward. One more thing for the hardcore hoop heads. We've got a free newsletter that delivers exclusive women's basketball updates, film notes, trends, and matchup edges straight to your inbox. And because you're here early, you can also download our free guide packed with practical breakdowns and play families coaches actually run. It's all waiting at basketplay.online. Join, grab the guide, and you'll be first in line for extra clips, charts, and weekly capsules so you can watch every game with smarter eyes.